A player linked with Celtic all summer is heading to Greece, and it was never as close as people were making out. Celtic are also pushing hard for a Tottenham midfielder after the manager personally went to watch him during the season. There is a new goalkeeper name from Germany with a release clause that Celtic could trigger. More on the Camilo Duran deal and why the price tag makes total sense, and a message from our former manager that will sound very familiar to Celtic fans. Let's get into it. But first, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content. Zinedin Smajlovic is heading to Olympiacos and not Celtic, with Swedish outlet Expressen reporting that the Greek club have reached an agreement for the Sandefjord centre-back worth an initial €5 million, potentially rising to €6 million through bonuses. The deal closes the door on one of the more persistent and often frustrating transfer links of the summer. For months, various outlets have claimed Celtic had made bids for the 22-year-old and were close to signing him. Celtic News consistently pushed back on those claims, reporting throughout that Celtic had not made a formal offer and were not actively pursuing the player. Today's development backs that up completely. The fee involved tells its own story. A deal worth €5 million rising to 6. That is a serious number in Norwegian football and a record sale for Sandefjord. It is also well above the figures some reports were attaching to any potential Celtic move. The player clearly had serious admirers at a high level. Olympiacos made their move, moved quickly, and got it done. Smajlovic had impressed during his time in Norway, making 39 appearances and establishing himself as one of the more highly rated centre-backs in the elite Syrian. The links to Celtic were never completely baseless. He is young, left-footed, and physically strong, but the level of concrete interest was always being overstated. For supporters, the takeaway is simple. Celtic were not as involved as some reports suggested. Olympiacos came in with a proper offer, and the player is heading to Greece. The search for defensive reinforcements continues, and at least this particular name can now be removed from the list. Now for the main story, as Celtic have intensified their pursuit of Tottenham Hotspur midfielder Alfie Devine, with Football Insider's Pete O'Rourke reporting that the club are plotting a move for the 21-year-old and that Martin O'Neill and members of Celtic's recruitment staff personally watched Devine multiple times during his loan spell at Preston North End last season. That last detail is what separates this from a routine transfer link. O'Neill going to watch a player is not something that happens without intent. The manager is 74 years old and selective about where he spends his time. If he was at Preston more than once to watch Devine, it means the player is a genuine target and not simply a name that ended up on a scouting list. Devine spent last season in the Championship with Preston, getting regular senior experience away from Spurs. He is back at Tottenham now with his long-term future uncertain. The club have spent significantly in midfield this summer, and competition for places in the centre of the park there is fierce, which makes a permanent sale increasingly likely. For Celtic, the attraction is clear. Devine is 21, technically confident on the ball, has genuine first-team minutes in English football behind him, and still has room to develop further. That is exactly the kind of player Celtic have built their recruitment model around in recent windows. The asking price from Tottenham is understood to be in the range of £4 to £6 million. That is not a small outlay for Celtic, particularly in a summer where O'Neill needs investment across multiple positions. But given the depth of the scouting interest and the personal involvement from the manager, this feels like a pursuit Celtic are taking seriously rather than casually exploring. No bid has been confirmed at this stage, and no agreement is in place. But when the manager himself is making the journey to the Championship to watch a player, fans should pay attention. This one has legs. In other news, a new goalkeeper name has emerged today, with Celtic reportedly in the race for Hertha Berlin's Tjark Ernst, with German outlet Bild reporting that the 23-year-old has a release clause in his contract that Celtic could be in a position to trigger. Ernst is a German under-21 international who plays his club football in the second division of German football. At 23 years old, he fits the profile of a goalkeeper who is experienced enough to contribute immediately but still young enough to develop into a long-term number one. The key detail in the Bild report is the nature of the release clause. It is understood to be set at €5 million and is available to clubs competing in European football as well as sides from Europe's top 5 leagues. Celtic, as Champions League qualifiers this summer, would meet that criteria, that effectively gives them a direct route to the player if they decide to move seriously. It is important not to overread the situation. There is no suggestion yet that Celtic have made a formal approach or activated the clause. Feyenoord have also been credited with interest, which means there is competition. Hertha themselves are understood to want to keep the goalkeeper and are not simply waiting for a sale to happen. Ernst has 1 year remaining on his deal in Berlin, which does add urgency to the situation from Hertha's perspective. A player in the final year of his contract with a triggerable release clause and European clubs circling is a situation that rarely ends without movement. For Celtic, the goalkeeper position has been a priority since Kasper Schmeichel retired after the double-winning season. Viliami Sinisalo performed well in the run-in, but competition and depth between the sticks is something O'Neill will want to address. Ernst is a name to watch as that search develops. In other news, with Celtic's pursuit of Camilo Duran continuing to build after the agent's arrival in Glasgow was reported this morning, it is worth understanding exactly why a striker of his calibre is available for a fee in the region of £3 million. The answer is the market he plays in. Duran delivered 15 goals and 10 assists across all competitions for Qarabağ last season, including 5 Champions League goals against the likes of Benfica, Ajax, and Eintracht Frankfurt. That is an outstanding European return. But because those numbers came in Azerbaijan rather than in Belgium, Portugal, or the Netherlands, the price attached to him does not reflect what the same output would cost from a more prominent league. The highest fee Qarabağ have ever received for a player is understood to be around €2.5 million. A deal worth £3 million for Duran would surpass that and represent a record sale for the club. From Qarabağ's perspective, that makes the asking price ambitious, but not unrealistic. From Celtic's perspective, £3 million for a 24-year-old with Champions League pedigree is outstanding value if the player delivers. The risk is clear. One strong European campaign in Azerbaijan does not guarantee he will replicate those numbers in Scotland and in European competition at a higher level. But Celtic have form for finding value in exactly these kinds of markets. The profile, the price, and the timing all make sense. With the agent already in Glasgow and both clubs reported to be hopeful of reaching a deal, this is now moving towards its conclusion. Celtic supporters should expect news on this one soon. Lastly, Ange Postecoglou has been confirmed as the new manager of Al Nassr in Saudi Arabia, and his opening message to the club's supporters will sound very familiar to anyone who followed Celtic during his 2 years at Parkhead. Postecoglou left Tottenham at the end of last season after a difficult second campaign in the Premier League and has now taken on one of the most high-profile jobs in the Saudi Pro League. The attraction is obvious. Al Nassr are one of the biggest clubs in the division. The profile of Saudi football has grown sharply in recent years, and the resources available to him will be significant. His first words to the club set the tone immediately. He said, "Coming to Riyadh and starting this project is an exciting challenge in my career. Al Nassr is more than just a football club. It is a historic institution with an exceptional fan base, and my goal is to build a team that reflects that greatness on the pitch. I came here to win trophies. The Saudi Pro League has become a global competition, and we have the players and the resources to put Al Nassr on top, both domestically and in Asia. The work starts immediately to turn those ambitions into reality. Celtic supporters who lived through the Postecoglou era will recognise every word of that. That's all the latest Celtic news for today. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment below with your thoughts. I'll see you in the next one. Hail, hail.